I think to determine whether or not properties will fall further, it's important for us to look at our realities and look at the current market condition. Okay. 1 year ago in 2007, if anyone would ask will property price fall further, a lot of people said that question is moot because we are in a bull market. Everything is getting more expensive. Everyone is feeling very optimistic about the future market. And today, if people are asking, will prices increase? That question is in this climate moot because everyone knows that prices is going down. So that is the reality of it. The important question is how long or how short it will last. Past trends are never indication of future performance. Past data can never indicate what's going to happen in the future. For example, in 1997, we have Asian financial crisis. Now we have the US, the global financial crisis. It is similar, but it will never be the same. Okay, like in 2003, you have SARS. Will SARS happen again? What's the chances of SARS happening? I would not say that there won't be any chances of that happening, but it will be a different context if the market were to crash subsequently. Okay, so that said, let's look at the long-term trend. The long-term trend actually looks like that. During our seminars, what we do is we share with our students and participants how do we actually look at when is a good time to go in based on long-term trend. This is the URA Private Property Index. You can actually get it from the URA website. So what this does is this. You can see the actually periods of growth and contraction, growth and contraction. More importantly is, let's just focus on the contraction part of it. From 1975 to now, there were a total of 4 growths, 3 contractions. Okay, the 3 contraction, with the shortest one is during the 1997 Asian financial crisis, which lasted about 2.5 years. This translates to about 10 quarters. And as of now, we have been through our second or third down quarter. Okay, the shortest in 1997 is 10 quarters, and now at this point it's only 3 quarters. I think any reasonable person would say probably now it's still a bit too early to enter the market. Yeah. So that is how we look at how we use trend to assist in our buying decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that we want to look at is maybe short-term trend. Maybe I can ask you this question. Okay. If I were to ask you, if I'll tell you that in a year, different months have different trends. And if I'll ask you to guess, which months do you think have the highest transaction, and which months in a year do you think have the lowest transaction? What would you say?
I would assume the middle months, like maybe in June to July, to witness the lowest transactions, and then end of the year to beginning of the year to have the highest transactions.
Oh, why is that?
End of the year because of the holiday season. Yeah, so. Okay,
and end of the year is holiday season, so people have more time to go and buy property, so it's high, right? Middle of the year, because people won't be around, so it's low. Maybe I can just share with you what are some of the common consensus. When I ask this question, that the majority of Singaporeans would say, most of them would say that the month that has the lowest is your 7th month, your August. Because they say that as Chinese, we don't really like to buy properties during Chinese 7th month. And a lot of them feel that January is the highest. Why they say that is because in January, they get their bonus in December, they have more cash, and January they need to look for properties. Okay, this is actually what we found. This data is actually derived from the last 13 years. How we get this is, we added up the last 13 years of all the transactions in the respective months. So these are the last 13 of January, the last 13 of February, March, April, all the way. So this is a summation or consolidated figure for the respective months. And we can tell from here is that August, the month that people think is the lowest, is actually the 4th highest. And when people say January and February tends to be highest after they get a bonus, it's not true. And we can see that January is actually the 2nd lowest. And if we to go one step further, we see that actually we can group them into high transaction and low transaction periods.
Okay.
Like so. Okay, and maybe I can just share with you how I actually derived this. I derived this when I was actually trying to sell my first property. In early 2007, I bought my second property, and I wanted to cash in and lock my profit for my first property. So that's why in January I tried to put it up on sale. But back then in January 07, maybe I can give you the context. In January 07, the market was starting to pick up. It was doing very well. There were news in, say, December 06, January 07 in like the Marina Bay area. Properties per square feet were going for 2,000, 2,005 and 3,000 or more. And here I was in January 07 trying to sell my property for $1,200 per square feet. And the response was very poor. In fact, there are agents who actually came back to me and asking me to actually lower my price to $750,000. Back then, the price I was asking for was $830,000. So I was very surprised. I was thinking, is it really a case that I'm overpricing it? Or can it be other reasons? Can it be some trends or anything like that? Well, we do know that within a year, there are actually different market trends. Say, the stock market. Let's use stock market for example. In the US stock market, we know that in the middle of the year, in the summer months, transaction volume tends to be lower because bankers, traders will all go for holidays. Whereas, say, at the end of the year, funds will do window dressing. What window dressing means is they will go and buy. They are supposed to maintain a certain portfolio. Along the way, they rebalance their portfolio, and towards the end of the year, before they actually print out all the past reports, they need to rebalance their portfolio back. Okay, so to be in accordance to what was stipulated previously. So that's what they do. What it means by window dressing. So we know that within a year there are certain cycles. So what I'm saying, what we are as a thing is that even for property in Singapore, there are months which is high months and months which is low months. So from this, I realized, hey, people is not responding when I'm putting my property on sale, not because I'm overpricing, but because of certain market condition, certain trends. People are just not buying in January and February. Right. And one reason we postulate is that, one reason we guess is that because a lot of people change jobs in January, they will get their bonus in December. In January, they look for their new jobs. So rather than looking at for new properties, they want to look for new jobs and settle that first. And one other possible reason is also it's a Chinese New Year. We know Chinese New Year happens in January and February. So let's talk about February. February is the lowest month, and February traditionally we already have 4 weeks. 2 weeks are gone due to Chinese New Year. Yeah. So the amount of business the amount of properties you can sell during the February is way lower. And so it's not because people are not interested, but it's probably because of the holiday season. No one is in a mental frame to actually buy a property.
What other considerations do property investors have to take before they actually make the decision to buy?
Okay, well, this is from a personal experience. When I first started, I bought it at the age of 24. 2 weeks after graduation, I didn't know what I was doing. I just jumped right in. I bought a place in District 9. It is in this development, not this unit, but it's another unit in this development. Thinking that I wouldn't go wrong because it's in town. After all, property is about location, right? So I bought it in 2002, expecting it to appreciate very quickly in the following few years. But that didn't happen. What happened was SARS. SARS happened in 2003. And if I wasn't able to hold then, if I had to sell, I would make an instant loss of more than 50,000. And for someone who just started working, 50,000 is a huge sum of money. But that made me realize two things. First and foremost, property is not just about location, and there were a lot of things I didn't know about property investing. So that was what really motivated me to really start out and really want to find out more about property and property investing. And on the topic of location, maybe I can just ask you ask you a simple question. How much do you think it would take to buy a property in order for it to make you a net profit of more than 1 million?
At least 1.5 million.
At least one. So what you're saying is you buy it for 1.5. Within a time period of say 5 years, you sell it for 2.5.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, based on this chart that we have actually listed down in the purchase price in ascending order. And we can see actually the cheapest property that was purchased that made a net profit of 1 million is actually 350,000. And 350,000 is about the average price of a HDB. When people realize this, it challenges their notion that you have to buy a very expensive property to make money. It doesn't have to be the case. More importantly, is you actually look at the locations. We see that they're in Novena, Bedok, they are in your District 12, District 2. it is a step away from people's mindset that you can only make money in 9, 10, 11, 15. This is not the case. And what we're saying is, of course, in prime locations, you definitely can make money. The chances of making money is higher, but in the not prime locations, there are still chances of making money, and that is what we're trying to say. Mm-hmm. And you don't just have to look at 9, 10, 11, 15 to buy properties that make money. Elsewhere, you can do the same. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the things that from our research we're able to tell. And we know that location is just not these prime areas, and other areas stand a good chance as well.
Are there locations that are resistant to the economic pressures right now? And if so, would that mean that this is a good time to look at those areas?
Everywhere is affected. There is no real trend on is there any pockets or any areas that's not affected. But from our last 5 years data, we are also able to tell what are the areas that doesn't do as well. In a boom, you expect everywhere to be making money, but we're able to identify certain locations that don't increase in value that much. So probably those are places that you may or may not want to consider putting money in.
You were talking about your property in Marina, and I understand that there are some investors who are under pressure to let go of some of their property on Sentosa right now because of what's happening. Do you think that's a wise move to let go right now?
There are some properties that are sold on deferred payment scheme. Deferred payment scheme, what happens is the buyers will only need to come up with 5 or 10% upfront and only pay the rest just before completion. Traditionally, what a lot of Singaporeans do is before they will just pay the sum upfront, and just before it TOPs, it gets the temporary occupancy permit, they will just go and apply a loan. In a typical time of the year, they will be able to get it. But now banks are banks are more reluctant to lend in light of this climate, because the real question is, will the person have the job? Will the person still be employed to pay up after the loan is being done? So the banks have become slightly more cautious, or rather it's become more difficult for people to secure loans. So for someone like that, and there's no way for him to get a loan, and he didn't secure a loan earlier on, then it probably makes sense for this individual to cut loss. But if someone has the ability to hold, or someone has already secured a bank loan, then by all means hold, because at the end of the day, we do know that market moves in cycles. As seen from the URA index, it has peaked, it has troughed, it has peaked, it has troughed. So we know that it moves in cycles. So it also depends on the price that he buys it at. All these would affect his decision. So it's a very loaded question. But I would say for people with ability to hold, they may want to consider doing so.